Thank you very much. All right, I think, do we have everyone in? Is it safe to go ahead and get started? Maria?
Yes, everybody should be in their breakout rooms already. We can get started.
Fantastic. So good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Renee Miller. I'll be your facilitator for this group room 3 breakout session. As you've heard, this session will be recorded. We're going to ask, it looks like we have about 21 participants in our room today. So I'm going to ask that everybody keep their mics muted and use the hand raise function that's located at the bottom of your screen under reactions to be recognized for questions. If you need anything, Maria Alsalte is our technical assistance person. You can message her in the chat if you're having any questions. We are running a tad bit short on time, so I am going to move through the questions and ask everyone to hold their questions, if so, towards the end of the presentation. And with that, I think I'd like for us to get started. Okay, Maria, we can go to the first slide. Okay, as I said before we broke out from our main rooms, that we're going to ask a series of questions that are broken up into 4 categories, and it's our intention to understand community priorities and understand the desires of our residents. So our first area is protecting community character. And so there's going to be 4 questions in this segment. Questions 1 and 2. In questions 1 and 2 that you'll see in a moment, the village is really trying to obtain from you input on how to develop or what constitutes a great sense of place that's uniquely Pinecrest along our corridor. The next 2 questions that you're going to receive is going to be about understanding your desire about how to shape that look, feel, and quality of the village moving into the future. With that, I would like to go ahead and launch the first question. Okay, so I'm sorry, Maria, would they need to select breakout room 3 on their Slido?
So we're gonna go ahead and everybody, you can take out your phone one more time and scan the QR code, and you'll be put into breakout room 3. If that's not if you have a desktop, you can go ahead and go on slido.com. Same thing, US1 plan, and select breakout room 3. So we'll give everybody some time to go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Great. In a few words, what do you want Pinecrest Parkway and its commercial properties to look and feel like in 20 years? So this is an experiential question. So please share with us what this means to you. What would you like it to look like and feel like? Okay. Residential community, not high density, no to buildings over 45 feet. A modern and new aesthetic. Great. We're going to tease that out a little bit more. And if we have time at the end, I'd love to get some more descriptors about what modern and new feels like to this group. Safe and desirable community. Great. Green and well-maintained. It looks like we have about half of our respondents that have given us a response in Slido. Again, please use the chat. If you're having a Slido challenge, please use the chat. Okay. Manicured. Good word. Large shade trees, walkable. Okay. Clean, safe, modern, less congested. It looks like we have about 14 participants. Okay, looks like someone's happy with our current configuration. Not a fan of residential use, good to know. Better landscaping and better sidewalks along US 1. Thank you very much for that. Okay. I want to encourage folks to get their responses in. We're going to keep this question open for just about another 15 seconds.
We also received from the chat green space.
Green space. Oh, thank you, Maria.
No problem.
All right. And with that, I think we're going to move on to our next question. In a few words, what would you discourage along Pinecrest Parkway and its commercial properties? What are the things you don't want to see on Pinecrest Parkway and its commercial properties? Great, and we're going to tease out a little bit in the upcoming questions. What does high rise mean to you? Because that's a subjective thing. I'd love to know what is high rise. Okay.
Okay, we also got some feedback from the chat saying buildings over 2 stories and no residential.
And no residential, okay. All right, no high-rise residential, I got so a big residential, which means that more than one person is sharing that. Okay, oh, I saw that again in the chat. No strip bars, no crowded buildings, no strip shopping, discourage allowing them to be run down. Okay, yeah, reinvestment is important. And this process is all about guiding that reinvestment when it happens, encouraging it to happen, and then making sure it reflects the needs of the community when it does happen. Okay. Vertical bridgeway to busway. Okay. Protection of our schools, no overcrowded schools. Okay. Keep Pinecrest character, not like other cities. Fantastic. All right, great. I am going to give everyone just another 10 seconds or so. All right, and then we're going to move on to the next question. Thank you guys so much for staying with us. Questions, before we get into questions 3 and 4, what we're trying to define here is what should be specifically encouraged and discouraged in the code. So we're trying to tease out what you would do. So this is so if you could put yourself in this headspace here, what would you do if you were the architect, designer, or developer of the future development that's going to happen along Pinecrest Parkway? And in this scenario, we really want to learn from you what elements, features, or amenities that you would either include or exclude from your beautiful new designs that you're going to place along Pinecrest Parkway. So please, we'd love to hear from you. All right, fantastic. Modern look, high density, plenty of green space, landscaping, great. Okay, clean contemporary design, lots of green space.
Parks and green space on the chat as well.
Parks and green space, great, thank you, Maria.
And very little commercial.
Okay, fantastic. Open inviting spaces. I'd love to tease that out a little bit and see what that means to you. Okay, fantastic. Well, this one's got a lot of responses. Attractive signage and accessibility, multicolored buildings, private bike lanes, nice. Mixed use to shield traffic with big courtyards. No building higher than 2 stories, free parking and green space. Street lamps. Fantastic. Okay. I'm going to give everyone about 15 more seconds to enter their responses. And then we're going to move on to the next question. All right. Let's move on to the next question, please. Similar to the last one, was encourage. In this question, we're asking you, again, put yourself in the headspace of a designer or an architect or a developer. And what design features would you discourage, would you not put in your beautiful buildings along the Parkway? Fantastic. Residential, you would not put residential in or more mass transit. No high rises, no concrete canyons, no flat roofs or billboards, advertising. So great responses so far. Okay. Cohesive parking. I'd love to hear if you want to put, you know, on some of these things that we'd love to hear teased out. I'd love to know what cohesive parking, a little bit more about what that means to you. And conversely, the person who talked about no high rise, I would love to know what high rise is to you. Maybe you're the person who's saying max 2 stories. Anything over 2 stories may be a high rise for you. Okay.
And then also on the chat, we got large commercial, no residential of any kind, and they added get rid of Toyota.
Okay, thank you very much. No fees for parking, no colorful buildings. Okay, fantastic. No parking that allows larger, does that say cars? Vehicles, larger vehicles. Okay, fantastic.
And just a reminder, Renee, this is the final slide for the final question for this grouping.
Oh, great. Thank you, Maria. All right, we're going to give it another 10 seconds or so. So I'm going to encourage everyone to put their responses in. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next segment. So our next section, the next grouping of questions is going to be centered around economic sustainability. And so in this section, we are going to actually have a total of 4 questions similar to our last segment. And I want to talk first about questions 1 and 2. So the questions that you're going to read, the villages for 1 and 2, we're seeking to understand the types of uses that residents would like to see along the corridor. The ultimate question is, what kind of uses would you and your family support and participate and or invest in along the corridor. And uses, by that we mean, would you want to see commercial, residential? If you want to see commercial or office space, what kind of office space? If you want to see retail, what kind of retail? There's going to be a list that you'll be able to share with us about. And if you don't see your use in that list, there'll be a follow-up question that gives you an opportunity to write to us what uses you would like to see if we didn't cover your desired use in that list. Okay, so with that, Maria, if you could please launch the first question. What kind of uses would you want included in the future redevelopment opportunities along the Parkway, and select all that will apply? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read some of these down just so I know so we have urban green space, locally owned commercial and retail fine dining, personal services, so dry cleaners, salons, dentists, luxury retail, franchise and national retail establishments, co-working spaces, offices, traditional apartment living, live-work units. So retail or commercial on the first floor and residential on the second floor. Okay, it looks like green space is winning. Locally, so small scale, local mom and pop type retail and commercial, fine dining. An artist loft. Oh, I see your question, Mr. Abasani. I'm sorry I hope I'm not murdering that last name. An artist loft means a place in which an artist could live and also do their work, or maybe just a studio space where artists will be able to do sculpting. They'll be able to, their shop, for lack of a better term. I hope that answers your question. Okay. All right, I want to encourage everyone to put their responses in. I'm going to give everyone the 10 more seconds to put their responses in. Okay, so again, it looks like local retail and commercial is the winner, urban green space, fine dining so far, personal services, luxury retail. Can you scroll down a bit? Thank you. Artist lofts and national retail establishments, co-working, apartments and live work and offices are kind of all along the bottom of the list. It's interesting. I would think that co-working might be a little bit more appealing, since all of us might be tired of going into staying at our homes after COVID. But that's interesting. Great responses. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question now. All right, so as we said before, we created a list, and I'm sure it's not exhaustive. So if your desired item, your desired use was not included in that last list, please share with us here what additional uses you would like included in future redevelopment opportunities, things that you'd like to see. I'm sure there'll be some commonalities amongst your neighbors. So please place that in the chat at this time.
And then Renee, just some feedback from the chat box. We had somebody state that they would love to see a Dandy Bear, Sky Zone, bowling or billiards. And somebody else also responded that they work online.
They work online. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Large green space, attractive bike path. Okay. Small Walmart, like a neighborhood Walmart. Okay. Yoga. No Walmart. Small Walmart and no Walmart. That's the beauty of community participation, right? Kids' activities, great. Bike path. Whoever put specially down, can we get a little bit of clarity on that one? If you could add some more descriptors there. Thank you so much. Okay, we got a lot of no Walmarts. Oh, especially no Walmart. Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay. Bike path, billiards, dog park. Okay. Art-related shops, thank you. All right, we're going to allow for all right, we're going to allow just a few more seconds as we're running short on time. So I'm going to 5 more seconds for you guys to put in your responses. Okay, next question, please. Would any of the statements below apply to your thoughts about growth and development? Select all that apply. I support growth and development as long as. Okay, I support growth and development as long as, okay. So I'll just read some of them out. I know that it's not all able to be captured on the screen because there's so many options. As long as it's in line with the scale and character of the village, it supports future transit, it includes high quality design, it creates jobs, it expands retail options, it increases my property value, it improves my quality of life, or nothing changes, as long as nothing changes. Okay. All right. And we're going to stay on this for about another 10 seconds and then move on to our next question. Okay. Looks like it increases our property values. It increases our property values is the winner. Gosh, what's this? Okay. All right. In line with village character and improving quality of life. Those are the top 3. High quality design and expanding retail options. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's move to our next question. I'm sorry. If statements above, so just like the last one, we tried to issue all of the statements that would apply to, I would support growth and development if. Now, if your statement was not represented in that list, please share with us a statement that would accurately represent your thoughts about growth and development. Okay, traffic, okay, if it lowered your property taxes, if you don't eliminate Home Depot. I love how committed we are to Home Depot in the village of Pinecrest. That is good stuff. Okay, no more development. Traffic issues are addressed, adequate consideration to traffic, okay, in adjacent neighborhoods. if neighborhood protection is imperative. Okay, great commentary here. Okay, no more development. Clearly, more than one person has responded to that green space. Okay. Okay. All right, next, we're going to move on to the next question. All right, transit-oriented development. I just, as by way of information, I want you to see the locations of these transit hubs we're going to ask you the questions about. And let's go ahead and roll into that first question, please. Do any of the words below apply to your vision for transit-oriented development for the transit hubs? Please select all that apply. All right. So we put, in order for us to all have the same concept of what low rise and mid rise is, I want to call out to the group that low rise we're defining as max 4 stories, mid rise max 6. And I just want to point out to the group that workforce housing is defined in Miami-Dade County as a 2-bedroom unit with monthly rental rates between $2,400 and $2,800 a year. Excuse me, not a year, goodness, a month. Just so, you know, we're qualifying and helping everyone to understand what we mean by that question, right? So your vision for transit-oriented development is that the hub areas are walkable. Okay, looks like a lot of people are saying low rise, have some public gathering spaces. Okay, let's move to our next question, please. All right. If your desired word was not represented above, please provide us with any additional words that will apply to your vision for transit-oriented development at the transit hub stations. Okay. All right, does anyone have any additional words for this? Safe and maintain, thank you. Okay. Less mass transit, no transit hubs, okay. Mass transit. Okay. I appreciate whoever it is that's sharing their fears at the group. I appreciate that greatly. Thank you very much. Focus on access to the falls. Okay. Plan to maintain the hub and keep it clean. Okay. All right, thank you. We're going to give another 15 or so seconds on this and then move on to our next question. Maria, I believe this is our last question in this section, right?
Yes, I believe so. Let me just double check. Oh, we have, no, we have another question.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we have two, this one and one more.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Do any of the statements below apply to your concerns about transit-oriented development at transit hubs? All right. Right, to any of the statements below. Great, thank you. We're going to give everyone about another 10 seconds to submit their responses. All right. Okay, next question, please. If your desired statement was not represented above, please provide us with a statement that would apply to your concerns about transit-oriented development at transit hubs.
And Renee, this is the last question on this section.
Okay, great. All right, anything you feel that we did not represent okay, thank you. Right, we will not use it, but we'll pay for it, okay. Need to drive in car to access the overcrowded schools. Okay. All right. As we're running short on time, I'm probably going to close this question down fairly quickly. So I'm going to encourage everyone to please put their responses in. Okay. Okay. All right. Another 30 seconds and we'll move on to our next section. Okay. Next question, please. Okay, so we're moving to our final segment and we only have 2 more questions left. And this is about diverse housing options. This is a hot topic tonight. I know that. So in our next 2 questions, we really want to understand, we recognize, right, that the village it's comprised of large scale single family homes, which really does leave some limited options for seniors who may want to downsize their home or remain in the village, or conversely, a young professional that might want to start their adult lives in the village and grow their family in this community. Mixed use development on the corridor may provide housing options that address these residents. And the village would like to understand from you, what are your feelings around this? Is this important to you? So let's go ahead and launch those questions. Currently, Pinecrest Parkway and its commercial properties lack housing options for young professionals and families to invest and grow within the community. How important is this issue to you? Okay. All right. Great. We'd like to hear from you. This is important about the mix of uses and whether or not we want to see aging in place and growing in place strategies as a part of our new vision. All right. I'm going to give everyone about 10 more seconds to respond to this. Feel free to also put your responses in the chat. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to the next question. Currently, Pinecrest Parkway and its commercial properties lack housing products for aging seniors who wish to downsize within the community. How important is this issue to you? Okay. So we wish to understand if senior housing in mixed use areas, something that is important to you, not important to you. Okay. All right. And that is thank you very much. So it looks like about the majority of our folks say it's somewhat important. Is somewhat important to them. So thank you very much for your responses on this. This is our last question in the breakout sessions. So we are short on time. I'm going to ask that if you have any questions, that you please put those questions in the chat. Looks like we have mostly comments so far in the chat, no questions that have not yet been addressed. So we want to ask you, I'm going to just give you about a minute or so to place any questions that you might have in the chat. And while our neighbors that are putting their questions in the chat, we're going to ask you not to leave us. We're going to be transitioning shortly back to the main room so we can close out our meeting and we can provide you with information about our next Pinecrest Parkway community conversation, what we'll be discussing in that meeting, and how we can proceed from them. But I want to thank you so much for your time and your attention and suffering through us in the beginning with some of our technical glitches. Thank goodness we got that addressed. And give us just a moment. Maria, will you let me know when we're going to be closing the room and everyone would move back to the main room?
Yes, we're just waiting for one more room and we should be back in the main room shortly.
Okay, great. So then, okay, when will we receive responses from other breakout groups where they asked this? Okay, this question from Mr. Ambir. Yes, everyone was asked the exact same question and everyone was shown the exact same slides. So at the next meeting, we'll be able to have a report about what your neighbor said, and you'll get to understand, collectively what the feelings were on all of these questions. Hope that answered your question, Mr. Beer. Thank you. Any other questions that I might be able to address in the chat before we jump to the main room?
Okay, Renee, so we're getting ready to close out the breakout rooms momentarily, okay?
Okay.
And now if everybody would like to go ahead and leave the closeout room and go back to the main screen, they can go ahead and do so, or if not, you can, stay put and we'll put you back in that main room, okay?
Thank you again for all your time.
I can't hear anyone. So
We're here.
Back in the main room, and I will turn it over to Renee so that she can close. Renee, also our group was asking about where they could find the website, the presentation for those who weren't able to log in early on. If you could please share that as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. Are we going to be able to launch those last three slides, please, Monica?
Yes, I'm uploading those now, Renee.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Excuse me, where are you uploading this?
You're muted, Renee.
Sorry, I was just asking everyone to please mute ensure that you're muting your your computers as we come in. Okay. Thank you so much. As we all, and Monica, has everyone been transitioned from breakout rooms into the main room?
Yes.
Okay. Thank everyone. I want to thank everyone so much for staying with us this evening and giving us your input and listening so intently to the presentations. I want to remind everyone, this is just the first step in a 4-step process. We're gaining community input. This is the first of 2 conversations. In order to make this happen, there's going to be a lot more discussion, a lot of data, a lot of planning, and many more community conversations before ultimately that zoning and land use plan is developed. Next slide, please. We are going to be having our next meeting on Wednesday, November 10th at 6 p.m. At that meeting, we will have a discussion of the survey results. So you'll get to hear and see what all of your neighbors felt about the questions in which we were asked. We'll talk some more about our redevelopment alternatives and flesh out some of the questions in order to refine our vision for the corridor. Most importantly, I want to share with everyone that, again, if you had any challenges with accessing Slido, the village will be emailing a link to the Slido questions so that you could do that on your own time, at your own pace. And we also will be sending all of the questions embedded within an email so that if you cannot access Slido for whatever reason, you'll be able to respond to those questions via email. We will have a recording of this meeting and all of the breakout sessions available on the city's website for you to view. I think you need to just give us a few days in order to download that and get that in a format that is easily accessible. But within a few days, that will be launched on the city's website for you to view and to go back over the information. I know it was a lot that we discussed. And I know that some of our residents had a challenge when we had our glitch in the first 10 minutes of our discussions today. So for any of you, we again apologize for that, but we'll have the recordings of this meeting available on our website so that you can take a look at that and see the portion of the presentation that you might have missed. Again, any questions that you have, post them in the chat. Anything that you will need, we're here to answer any questions that you will have. And I want to again thank you so much for your time, and we appreciate all of the interaction that you have had with us. And with that, I am going to close out tonight's discussion and tell you thank you so much for participating with us. Thank you.
Renee,
Yes.
I saw one question on the chat queue. It's that in breakout room number 4,
Yes.
there were a huge number of concerned citizens of Pinecrest group, and that was that intentional?
No, everything is random. We didn't self-select anything. The computer self-selected, selected everyone at random to be pushed into the rooms.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
So with that, that concludes our meeting. Thank you very much and have a good night.
Night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye. Thanks. Good night. Night.